Push the weight and now flex. The live is 1 in the 6. Fit the runner, boy, you nigga, no question. You would run a motherfucker high stepping. Hey, you never had a big enough weapon. Motherfucker never learned your lesson. I'm a 88 pack nigga. I'm a 88 pack nigga. I mean, day walker, drink blood, fangs out, full moon, motherfucker, change like a hoe, nigga. I'm just a nigga from the hood trying to stack a little cheddar for the money.
Yeah, buddy. Drew Titan, Bronx on deck. Shout out to the LDBC. Come on in, smash the like button. Hype the video, share the video. We are our own algorithm. Let's not leave it up to Miguel to do anything for us. Todd Swindle, Ratchet since 91. Mac of the South. Andrew 100. Jimmy Bernard. Coach in the building. Steve L. the Mac. Dal Anderson. Dion next up. Bionic Prince. Shyland. Firehouse Sniper. J Man. Cortez. Derek Gaines, the legend. Salute. Jeff Spark, always supporting. Salute. Tay Tay. Good morning. Good evening, rather. Del Rev. Steve L. the Mac over there on Rumble. Legendary. Salute. Over there on Rumble. 88 Sports Talk. Chilltown. Prince Savage. Bud. LPRN over there on Rumble. Prince Savage. Young Abel. Village Brother. Jalen Hudson. Ern Jordan. You see the link at the top. Click that link. Follow us on Rumble also. We're going to be doing a lot more work over there. And like I told y'all, Dante, Slim Hussein, salute. When I told y'all, when it gets too crazy over here, when I feel like I can't hold my tongue, with respect to what I have going on YouTube, you're going to get it raw and uncut over on Rumble. We play the music we want. We can say whatever the F we want, and that's how we roll. Growing with soul in the building, salute. So smash the like button. I want to get straight to this. Good evening, Stormy. Sensei, how are you?
Yo, what's good? What's good to the chat? Great Sunday to everybody. It's been a very good day from this morning through this evening on here talking these great subjects that we've had lined up. Mm-hmm. Coach of the Truth Tellers, Coach Hudson, started it off this morning. Mm-hmm. Damn good stream with him. I was listening in so good. I had remarked when I was doing my own show, I almost forgot I was going live myself. I was sitting in the chat, like eating popcorn, just but yeah. But hey, this really makes me feel good about what we do, because we can attack these subjects from all different angles. We all have our different set of skills. Yeah. And as he has in his name, Coach of the Truth Tellers, is that's what we do. We tell the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts. It cuts like a knife. And but that's what Band-Aids and gauze and everything like that is for, huh? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have to stitch yourself up after you done busted wide open. That's a part of life. You're not gonna get through this life without having to stitch something up. And if you do happen to have gone that far, just wait, because it happens. It happens.
Absolutely. Before we get started on our show, I like to tune into the sister Sugar Free Mars. I saw her community page that she was taking the night off. But salute to the queen. Salute to the queen, man.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, make sure y'all go subscribe to Sugar Free Mars. Captain America, I see you in the chat. So let's get to this, because this is kind of lengthy. By now, y'all have seen it, or if you have it, we're going to introduce you to it. Actually,
that Captain America, is that Steve Rogers or is that Sam Wilson?
Which Captain America is that? Is it Steve or Sam? Which one? Salute to you, good brother. We actually our good brother Trick Nolte was trying to get Gerald's sister on the Strong House about a couple of years ago, but the times weren't meeting up, and she was open to it, but she's busy. She's very, very busy, and one of the things that she's busy with is taking care of her brother, in which she does full time now. So if you missed the interview, Andre Ward did when I tell you this brother did an outstanding interview here. There was nothing written down, you can tell. Maybe he had a few questions, but we got answers. And we even got answers. Now, me, I remember this in real time. I was like 19, 20 when this happened in real time. And I had questions from back then. But then as you get older, you review it. You always say, hey, man, something was not right. And there's a lot of things that we find out in this interview that have left me saying, I knew it. I knew something was wrong. So what we're going to do is we're going to play the audio. If you haven't heard it, we're going to play the audio because, YouTube is weird. And, next thing you know, they're shutting down the stream or whatever. But we're going to play the audio. Now, I'm going to tell you, in the event that they shut down my YouTube for the audio, click the Rumble link. Click the Rumble link, and I will gladly end it on YouTube, and we can continue on Rumble. Okay? So I'm not worried about it because this needs to get out. This needs to be... Now, salute to Andre Ward, but I'm going to fair use the audio. I'm not going to play the video. I'm going to fair use the audio, and we're going to narrate through what we know because Stormy, a little older than me, but he remembers it like yesterday, and I remember it. I was a grown man when it happened, and I just watched it. It was tragic to me because it went from a knee to him leaving with a neck brace on, and then you find it out. You'll hear it. We're going to play it, and I'm going to jump around.
Can I set something up for it?
Go ahead, please.
Because you're going to get a great deal of information. Andre Ward asked excellent questions that allowed Lisa to elaborate on some things. But I just want to remind everyone that Gerald McClellan was the WBC middleweight champion of the world.
WBC?
Oh. WBC. He had knocked out Julian the Hulk Jackson, and had he had been in a situation where he had to fight him twice.
Yeah.
Because Julian was Don King's fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, Gerald McClellan was such a formidable fighter, people weren't going rounds with him. He had a string of first-round knockouts that were similar to what we had seen in this late time of Edgar Berlanga when he came on, Right. But the difference between Gerald and someone like Berlanga was Gerald was the real deal. And after like his 7th fight or so, he got linked up with Emmanuel Stewart and the Kronk Gym. Mm-hmm. And Emmanuel had a foresight of how to market fighters and take them through. He had done it many times with Kronk fighters, and Gerald had this thing in him that was kind of similar to what we witnessed with in the Rocky film that had Tommy Morrison in there. Right. Tommy the Duke in the film, he was really anxious and rambunctious and just wanted a title shot. He was like gunning for that. But Rocky was trying to bring him along a certain kind of way that not only could he win a title, but he could become a champion and learn how to defend his position. Because just because you acquire the title, that really doesn't make you a champion. That makes you the titleless. And I try to make that distinction when I talk to people and even execute in my own content. I like to remind people, because a champion is someone who has reigned for a duration, at least more than 2 fights. You know what I mean? But a titleist is someone that just acquired it because he could lose it the next day. You know what I mean? Or the next time out. So Gerald McClellan fought Julian Jackson. Mm-hmm. And in a big battle between 2 hard punching dudes, he got the best of Julian. Now, Don King could see the talent in Gerald McClellan. So he set up a rematch, which was like within the next 6 months, they fought again. And in the rematch, Gerald stopped Julian faster in a shorter period of time. Now, that made him Don's guy, because that's how Don did things back then.
Mm-hmm.
And Don wanted Gerald to move up to super middleweight. Emmanuel Stewart didn't want Gerald to move up.
That's right.
Gerald had trouble making the weight, but it was a discipline thing. It wasn't that he couldn't make the weight. It's more convenient for him to go up to the bigger weight or whatever. And at super middleweight, the WBC champion was Nigel Benn. Now, Nigel Benn had dropped and knocked out Iran Barkley in one round.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of blitzed him, had him in trouble, and was able to stop him in one round. Don had this brilliant idea of working on Gerald to get him to move up because he felt that he could set up this huge fight with Gerald being this KO artist and Nigel Benn over in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
But Don had rights to Nigel Benn too. You see? So I'm laying that landscape to let you guys know what was being done at the time. It's similar to what you've seen Ed Hearn do with some of his fighters, UK born and raised fighters, bringing guys over there to allow his guys to feast on fighters that are not from there.
Mm-hmm.
Queensberry Promotion, Frank Warren, has done similar. But see, when you don't understand how that operates, when these promoters want to take someone offshore because of the advantages that they could have and things that they can get away with, especially if someone from here is not worldly enough, even your camp is not worldly enough of what goes on over there. So Don ended up having the advantage of when Gerald split with Emmanuel Stewart, who was training Evander Holyfield for a rematch with Riddick Bowe. Gerald was upset because Emmanuel wasn't spending enough time. So Don was like, hey, don't worry about that. I got a guy you can work with and everything. Someone Gerald was familiar with and who had been a part of King's camps, and you can even see this guy in the backdrop, the guy that wore the captain's hat.
Yep.
So all of that is leading up to some things that you guys may not have known from behind the scenes. Lisa talks about a great deal of this stuff. So with no more of my interruption, I just kind of wanted to speak that out there for people, Drew, to help set things up.
And also on top of, to add what you said, you know, you might have some people talking about Deontay Wilder ducked Vladimir Klitschko. That's not true. Vladimir and Deontay were both working with Shelly Finkel. Shelly Finkel kept them apart. I just want to point that out. Shelly Finkel kept them apart. Deontay wanted that fight, but Shelly Finkel kept them apart. Whether Vladimir wanted it, at that time, he was on top of the world. If he wanted it, he could have called for it, but that didn't happen. But without further ado, let's get to salute Mark. Yeah, and they don't send out my notifications, so don't worry about it. So good, I appreciate you, brother. But let's get to this. Andre Ward's interview with Lisa McClellan. We're picking it up when he was talking about the Gerald McClellan fight. I'm sorry, the Julian Jackson fight. Need you to listen carefully.
Gerald he beat Johnny Beast Mugabe, and he doing what he do. He's getting knockouts. He's still, he's becoming more and more feared. For some reason, I don't say some reason, I know why, because people are enamored, even other fighters, with knockouts like that pumps fear into people. And Gerald had that sort of surrounding him, but he gets in the ring with another puncher, Julian Jackson. So they have their first title fight. What do you remember about that fight? Because after that, Gerald said he kept having headaches.
Let me stop it right there. For those of you youngsters that don't know, Julian Jackson was a serious knockout artist. Look it up on YouTube. Look up his highlights. He was knocking people senseless. All right. Gerald fought this guy twice. All right. Twice. listen. This is the reason why he brought this up. I need y'all to pay attention.
Didn't know what the headaches were. That was a very grueling fight. Gerald ended up stopping him. But were you at that fight, and what do you remember from that fight?
I was definitely at that fight, and we knew that was going to be a really hard fight for Gerald. We were really nervous because I think Julian hadn't lost a fight in 10 years. In the back of my mind, I was wondering if Gerald was really going to win because Julian was so good. But I underestimated how good Gerald really was. But he did have a headbutt that night. And I remember after the fight, I had walked down to the dressing room with him. And he was doing an interview.
Pause it. You heard her say he had a headbutt.
Yep.
There was a headbutt in that fight. Headbutts are dangerous.
Yes.
Especially when you don't anticipate them. That's why dirty fighters who cause and initiate headbutts, they have an advantage because the other fighter doesn't know the impact.
Mm-hmm.
We just saw a few weeks ago where the fighter, was that on the Clarissa Shields fight card? Where the guy had the headbutt and he went to his corner and sat on the stool and he fell out.
Passed out. That was real.
That was real. That from a headbutt.
Yep. A delayed effect.
I just kind of wanted to put that in there. Go ahead, Don Drew. I'm sorry.
That's very serious.
One of his coaches was holding some ice on his head, and I realized how big the knot was on his head. Yeah. So the rumor was after that, and it could have very well have been a concussion with the size of the knot he had. He'd had some issues afterwards, yeah.
I mean, it probably was. You know, like, I fought from 2004 to 2017, and I don't think we ever said the word concussion in our gym.
I need you guys to understand. I know this is a hurt business, and I know just because it's a fight sport, automatically we brush off things like concussions. But if you never had one, or never knew anyone that had one, especially one that goes undiagnosed, you will never know how dangerous it is. And I know this is a fight game. But still in boxing, although it's a contact sport, you have to take proper precautions because they're speculating that he had a concussion that they never bothered to diagnose. And he probably carried that forward after the Julian Jackson fight, which is a recipe for disaster. And it calls to the attention of the people around him. Were they not educated enough? I don't know what state or city that Jackson fight happened. Were there rules? We had a fighter in New York. I forget the guy's name, but he fought the Cuban dude the Cuban dude lives in Ireland, and he fought this white guy from European guy. Y'all know the fight because it was because of that fight. After the fight, the white guy loses. I forget his name. Forgive me. He goes to the hospital, and he's pretty much like a vegetable now. But his family sued the New York State Athletic Commission. And because they sued and won, that was the rule that you saw when Wilder fought Ortiz, and they stopped the action in between rounds when Deontay got in trouble. And Paulie Malignaggi was talking about, they cheated for him. They cheated. They're not supposed to do that. No. That was because of the rules. They had to check Deontay to make sure he was okay. They said he could continue, so he continued. And he proceeded to get the knockout, but they insisted that he cheated. It wasn't him. It was the rules. So there's a lot of things to question. There's a lot of moving parts here that more than likely led up to this. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to play.
Wow.
I don't think my coach ever said the word concussion. We call it getting buzzed.
Wow.
We don't even talk about it. I mean, even in the sport of boxing, I don't think I've heard a doctor say concussion.
See that?
I don't think I've heard a promoter say concussion. I've certainly not had have heard other fighters say the word concussion. So I know that wasn't something that was used back then. I'm not even sure they even knew what a concussion was back then. Did y'all?
I don't think so. But in the last 3 to 4 years that I've been working on the foundation and working with the doctors, I've learned a lot about concussions. And so looking back after I know what I know now, it probably was a concussion and it went untreated.
I just said that. You see what I mean?
And then the second impact syndrome, you don't get the first one dealt with, you don't rest properly, let the brain rest, the second one comes and that's where the problems come in at.
And I've also learned that having 2 concussions back to back without it being healed is a precursor for a brain bleed. So one of Gerald's teammates from Kronk wrote me a letter after Gerald got hurt.
I need you to listen to this. And top of the top, I understand what you're saying, brother. But here's the deal. You're going to get concussed. And they're talking about an accidental headbutt that may have been the reason why that happened. And sometimes whether it's a headbutt or a punch, you can't control a concussion. You know, things just happen, whether you're defensively responsible or not. You know, I'm not wishing anything on Shakur, but how is he going to react if anyone ever touches that chin one good time? We don't know. He might get concussed. You know, I mean, we don't know. But I need you to listen to what she says. Just listen to what she says right here. It's very important.
And he said that he believed Gerald was hurt before the Nigel Benn fight. And I got really upset after I read the letter. And I called him and said, you know, don't go starting that rumor because we don't know that. But he said when he was sparring with Gerald one day, Gerald started blinking like he did in the Nigel Benn fight.
Y'all hear that? I didn't know that.
No one knew it. No one knew it. He wrote her that letter, and that's how she found out.
And he said first Gerald accused him of thumbing him in the eye, and then later came back to tell him that he didn't. But it's a possibility that might have started something in '94.
Damn.
And he never healed.
Where's Don King at this point? You know, he beat John the Beast Mugabe.
You want to say something, Stormy? Yeah.
Yeah, and bear in mind, during this time, James Toney was over there too.
Yes, sir.
And those guys used to spar for training.
Yeah.
Instead of hitting the bag and doing the floor exercises and
did.
running and stuff, James Toney was like, who wants some today? You know, it was a tough man thing. You think the Floyd Mayweather gym,
no,
where the doghouse or whatever.
James Toney only sparred to get ready for fights. That's why he talking crazy.
Exactly. James Toney and those guys were doing that back then, and he was in the mix. There's some sparring footage of Gerald and James out there. This is some real stuff that was going down. Now, mind you, if you look at it in a sense of like from the fighter's vantage point, they didn't want to show no signs of weakness.
Right.
So even if they were hurt and maybe should have taken a step back, they didn't. And the coaches and trainers allowed them to work within that framework because they didn't want to take confidence away from the guys.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So you got bad things happening on both ends. But that's what I wanted to add.
No doubt. Salute to my brother, Trick Nolte. He said, salute, Drew and Stormy. Glad this was brought up. Yeah, and again, I said before you pulled up, Trick, that you had the interview. You was in contact with Lisa McClellan, but the times weren't adding up because she's a very busy woman. And, you know, I know she takes care of her brother full time. So that's why we never forced the issue. But I just wanted to before you pulled up, I let everyone know that we had that interview set up. We had it set up. This was like going about 3 years ago almost, because it was a little after the pandemic.
Yeah.
But she's a very busy woman. They were doing fundraisers for Gerald, and it got to the point where it's like, you know what, I don't want to bother her. You know what I mean? You know, but salute to her, man. I appreciate her. The brother Felix Nunez, he said, it makes me think of guys like Jared Hurd in this era. Yeah, look, I wouldn't recommend. Manuel Stewart said that James didn't run. He didn't do road work. The man would spar to get ready for fights. That's why no matter how fat he got, and I say this respectfully, his IQ was so high in that ring, he'd be able to slip punches and everything. But y'all hear him talking now? That's gym. That's from the gym. That's not from the fights. Because he did get caught. He had to. Talking like he's talking now, and I say this respectfully.
And you think about the guys he was sparring. James Toney was in there. Remember, that goes back to that era. This is before Floyd Mayweather. So
bro,
it's like there was some beasts in boxing back in that era.
If you could find old video of the old Kronk gym, you'll see, you won't even know who they fighting until they take the headgear off. Be like, hold on, that was Tommy Hearns doing that? Yes. They were like that.
Leonza Barber.
Those guys were, bro. Y'all think y'all know boxing. The Kronk gym had his name for a reason, bro. There was some killers that came out of there. There was some killers, man, for real, brother. Detroit in the building, salute. So let's pick it up with what Lisa's saying.
And then he beat Julian Jackson. Where's Don at in this picture?
I think at that.
Let me show y'all this. I gotta show y'all this picture. Look at that. Who's that on the far left, y'all? Don't ruin it, Stormy. Who's that on the far left?
Michael Moore.
Oh, shit.
when he still had hair. That was Michael Moore.
Yep.
And
I told you.
He was the light heavyweight champion. He's a heavyweight right there. That's in between fights.
Now look at him. Look at his arms. Look at the vein in his arm.
That was when Michael Moore was the light heavyweight champion of the world. I think it was WBO. And he was knocking everybody out like Mike Tyson.
Yep.
And look who he's with right there.
Yep. Killers, right? Those are killers right there. And Mike Tyson went through that Kronk gym. And I'm going to tell you something else. He ain't dominate everybody in the Kronk gym either. They won't tell you that.
Yep.
They won't tell you that. But Mike, bro, come on now.
There was some guys in that Kronk gym that handed Mike his dinner. You can believe that.
This version of Michael Moore could compete with Mike Tyson back then. You might not believe it. But I'm telling you, the Kronk gym was different. Let me do that. All right, I'm gonna play the audio.
I'm glad you saved that photo.
Yeah. Oh man, that's great.
Time Don was the promoter.
Don was promoter. Okay.
Yeah, he was Gerald's promoter.
Okay. And from what I read, you know, Gerald's getting all these first round knockouts, and at this time now, Emmanuel Stewart is actually training him, from what I read. And this is where the problem started coming in at, from what Emmanuel said. You know, he said that the main reason that we split was because Gerald did not want to take the fights that I wanted him to take. Instead, he listened to Don King over me.
Oh my God. Scott in that super chat salute, he says, who's that to the right of Mike Tyson? Oh, that was Michael Moore, Gerald McClellan on the far right, and Mike Tyson.
And Emmanuel Stewart. Emmanuel Stewart was there too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Oliver McCall was in Kronk, and he used to beat the shit out of Mike, y'all. Oliver McCall that knocked out Lennox Lewis when he had the flat top back in the day. He did it in the UK. He never fought Oliver McCall on a pro level because Oliver McCall would beat his ass in sparring. A lot of people don't know that.
There was a lot of fighters that didn't want to fight Oliver McCall. A lot of fighters. Because he had a reputation in the gym. Mm-hmm. And his reputation from the gym was he was whooping Tyson's ass in the gym. And guys back during that era, remember, I just said these were beasts fighting and training together So it's like you have good gym fighters, and then you have guys who are beasts that the promoters and even managers and stuff don't want to give them opportunities because that's not who you want carrying the title and stuff. But they would always keep those guys in the fold because if something fell apart or whatever, you could plug a guy in. And that's what Don King did when Lennox faced Oliver McCall. Because Lennox was beating up people too, remember?
Yeah, he was. Lennox was mean, bro.
But check this out. Don stuck McCall in there, but before he did it, he hired Emmanuel Stewart to prepare McCall for the fight. Now, think about that. Just think about that. Because Don King, he could do stuff like that. As long as he paid these guys the right amount of money and stuff like that, they would do, hey, can you work with McCall for this fight? And McCall was readily trained for Lennox because all Lennox used to do was wind up and look to throw that right hand back when he was a younger fighter, right? Back then, similar to Deontay Wilder. But go back and watch the fight. Stewart trained McCall so well because he had an iron chin himself.
Yes.
He trained him. He said, every time you think he gonna throw the right hand, you throw yours. Yeah, even if he gets it off before you a little bit first or whatever, throw it anyway. And there were a couple of exchanges where Lennox went to throw his right hand at Oliver, and Oliver countered with his own, and it just missed Lennox. And then it happened. But it happened so smoothly when Lennox crumpled to the floor, they were like, oh, and Lennox is down. But when you see the replay, Lennox went to wind up and throw that right hand, and McCall stepped right in with his first, right on his chin,
twisted him
and knocked him out. And Lennox was such an intelligent man that right after the fight, he went to Emmanuel Stewart and said, hey, would you train me? He was like, because I figure I'm an former Olympic champion, now former world champion, and you could train a journeyman heavyweight like that to knock me out. You're a hell of a trainer. And that's the story of Lennox and Emmanuel coming together.
That's what makes Lennox great. That's what makes him great. He understood. I made a mistake, but that dude, he didn't do that by himself. Who's that guy, Lennox? Emmanuel. Let me talk to him. And that's why Lennox understood his limitations, and he understood that I got to get to the next level. That's why he hung out here on American soil. He soaked up all the knowledge. Yeah, Trick, I'm gonna show that. Give me a second. I'm gonna pull that up. I'm gonna show that.
And for Mark Wunderlich, no, Lennox learned to pop the jab from Emmanuel. He wasn't doing that before Emmanuel. The jab was not a featured punch by Lewis's arsenal before Emmanuel Stewart. See, there's a lot of credit that he doesn't get. He's no longer around. But Lennox will tell you that himself. And there are other people that just don't want to say it because they either are too busy trying to celebrate Lennox from formerly being from the UK, or denigrating him because he left the UK and fought in the Olympics for Canada. There's a lot of drama with that. But it took Emmanuel to take Lennox to the heights that he achieved because the people that worked with him prior to that, all they had him doing was looking for the right hand. That's all they had him doing. That's right, Egalitarian. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. He says Pepe Correa. Yeah, that's who was doing it. And if you go back and watch those fights, he's like, hit that sucker, throw that right hand, put that right hand in there. That's all he used to tell Lennox.
Scott in that super chat, he says Opatai versus Glanton, free on YouTube, 11 p.m. New York time. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Let me pull that up for Trick for a moment. I found it. I'm gonna after we get through this, I'm gonna show the knockout. Because YouTube, they be on some crap. It's the first fight. Yep. You know what else? Too, Stormy? McCall he threw that damn punch at his chest.
Yeah.
It was well timed.
You could go back if you just go back and watch the whole fight. Don't just not watch the knockout. I know you're gonna show the knockout.
Yeah.
People listen. Watch the whole fight because I think the fight went 2 rounds.
Let me see.
I think Oliver knocked him out in the 2nd round. If I'm not
fast. It was fast.
2nd or 3rd, but it was but the point of it is you listen to the instructions of Emmanuel in the corner. They were prepared for Lennox. This was not him getting a lucky shot. It was not a lucky punch. Let me tell you something about the ideology of a lucky punch. A lucky punch is when a series of events are taking place and you happen to put your hand out there, it lands, and the guy reacts to it. If you threw it with the intent of hitting a guy on the chin or in the belly or whatever, and it gets that was intentional. That's not luck.
Lord, he tried to get up off the damn floor.
Does it say what round?
Oh, I'm trying to see. Let me see. Damn, it's not showing. Hold on. Then it has to be early because it was relative. They haven't even broken the sweat yet. I'll find out. This interview's long. I want to get through it. Let me go back to it, but I'll play it. Back to the interview.
And I didn't appreciate that. He said that's how, essentially Emmanuel remembered it, was that he said, man, we need to take this fight, that fight, because you need rounds. You get knockouts, but you don't have the experience. And it sounded like Gerald wanted the fast track, like, no, I'm ready now.
I think Don definitely got in Gerald's head and caused some problems with him and Emmanuel. But I'm not sure if that was the reason for the split. I think the reason for the split was, from my understanding, Emmanuel was training Holyfield at the same time Gerald was training for a fight, and Emmanuel went to training camp with Holyfield instead of Gerald, and Gerald got upset.
He didn't like it.
And I think that's what caused the rift.
Mm.
His goal was to get Gerald away from Emmanuel. So, because I truly believed that Emmanuel cared about Gerald and he definitely wouldn't have let him go over to England and take that fight. And then it was some other things, like Gerald went up in weight, never had another fight at super middleweight, and ended up being a top contender on super middleweight without having any super middleweight fights. So Emmanuel wouldn't have allowed that kind of stuff to happen.
Well, he talked about that. I got quotes from Emmanuel where he talked about that. And so Gerald beats Julian Jackson again, this time in the 1st round, I believe. And there was talk of Gerald, who was still at middleweight, 160, staying at middleweight because Roy was also at middleweight. It sounded like Emmanuel Stewart felt that was the better matchup. Like, you already beat him. And, this is just his opinion, but he felt like, man, Roy can't go 5-6 rounds with you. Gerald decided to move up. And Emmanuel's kind of known for that. He'll boil his guys down. I mean, he'll keep him at a weight class as long as they can because he likes tall guys that got advantages. It sounded like, you tell me if I'm wrong, that Gerald wanted to move up. I don't know how much influence Don had. I don't know how much influence the money had, but that Emmanuel wanted Roy, and Gerald moved up to fight Nigel Benn.
I think it was probably him being persuaded by Don but then Gerald did have a lot of issues making weight.
Oh boy. See? Don King has a reputation. Yeah, Trick, I remember that. Your trainer, you would think your trainer knows the fighter. sometimes in certain instances better than the fighter knows himself. Don King already has a bad reputation. Can't be any worse than anybody else. But you got to believe that Don was thinking dollar signs. Got to believe he was thinking dollar signs. We won't know. We can only speculate. But we see the outcome. And being that he leaned towards Don King, it's more reasonable to blame Don King for what happened. Especially, wait till y'all hear what she says what happens. Let me get through this. Watch this.
Because like fight night, the like weigh-in for him was excruciating to where, I mean, he would be in the sauna, he would be running. I mean, I don't think I've ever remembered him actually not being overweight as a middleweight. So he always had an issue. So I don't know if that's what made him move up. I'm not sure. But I definitely know Don was a big influence.
Your brother's a champion. And I've heard you say that Gerald is very, very generous. And I know a championship belt and some fame, it's going to attract a lot of different people. And it ain't always the right people. How was Gerald moving at that time before the Nigel Ben fight? Did he have people around that you knew, like, bro shouldn't be around? Or was he keeping a small circle?
No, he kept a lot of people around that didn't really have his best intentions, especially looking back now. Immediately after he got hurt, those people were gone. So that kind of let you know they were there for the wrong reasons.
You hear that? That's so typical.
Including the guys that were in the corner with him the night of the fight.
Gerald takes the Nigel Ben fight. He signs it to take the fight. Do y'all having any discussions at home? Is your dad weighing in? Do y'all feel like it's a good idea, a bad idea? How y'all feeling about it pre-fight?
At that time, like the family was split because Gerald was on bad terms with my dad, and I really wasn't involved much because we didn't get along. Gerald was very close to my youngest sister, so I would get information from her. Like I learned from her he was fighting in England, and it at that time nobody was getting along. It was bad blood with him and my dad.
Was that because of the fame and money?
It was a lot of things. My dad was used to being Gerald's trainer and calling the shots. He had a hard time giving that up to Emmanuel. He had a problem with things that decision Don were making. So it was a lot. My dad wasn't happy about it.
Here we are, February 25th, 1995. Gerald is in England. Did the family come?
No.
Nobody came? Was your father there?
No. Gerald and my dad weren't even on speaking terms.
So he's in England basically by himself. This is where this shit gets dangerous.
And he was also, him and Emmanuel obviously were not together either.
No.
Who was the man in his corner with the sailor hat? Who was that? Who's that trainer? You remember him?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. When we were younger, we lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And Stan Johnson is his name. He was always at the Boys and Girls Club where Gerald would train. So Gerald knew him. He hung around. He called himself like a little local promoter where he would put fights together. And he mistreated a lot of fighters. But Gerald was so confident in himself, Andre, that he didn't think he was going to need them. He really just had them in the corner just to fill that spot, the first and the second, because he was going to call all the shots and make all the decisions.
Ego, y'all. Ego. Now, with respect to the situation, some of this is a self-inflicted wound. This was when you find out what was going on later on in the years, you're like, oh my God. And it's no wonder they did, because I'm going on record saying that they did what they did to him, because there was nobody there to protect him. Now, why the F do you think I get on here and I be talking about a fair sport? Why do you think I get on here and I just go crazy when I hear these knuckle draggers start talking up Ryan Garcia, start talking up Tyson Fury, and telling you that drugs don't matter? Why do you think we have athletic commissions in every fucking state, in every country? Why do you think there's a banned substance list? Why do you think they send people to each other's corner, each other's dressing room to watch the hand wraps? Margarito attempted murder on Miguel Cotto, and the only reason why we put 2 and 2 together was because he tried to get Shane Mosley. Unfortunately, there was nobody educated enough in Deontay Wilder's camp to catch it in the second Fury fight. There was no one educated enough. It was a lack of education. That won't happen again. But now they got things that, you know, the cheaters have gotten better. Drugs have gotten better. Let me continue. It's amazing stuff, man.
So he wasn't worried if they was capable or qualified, because he had control of everything. So he thought.
See? So he thought.
So they were there just to be there.
You feel like they were qualified?
Oh, absolutely
level?
not. No.
You see
no.
that?
Even stand?
Never. No.
Oh.
No.
Well, the first bell rings, and Lisa, it's a typical Gerald McClellan situation in that first round. He jumped on Ben, and I believe in the first 30 seconds, he hit him, he hurt him. Nigel Benn went to the ropes, and, you know, Gerald knocked him through the ropes. And I don't know the rules at that time. There are rules that say if you go through the ropes, you have 20 seconds to get back in the ring. Nigel Benn jumped through the ropes right at 9. Some people say that the referee, Alfred Asaro, had a slow count. Some people counted 13, 12, 13 some odd seconds. Do you know if the rule was 20 seconds for him to get back in the ring, or was it supposed to be a 10 count situation?
I was recently told if it was out of the ring, it was 20 seconds.
But his feet were still in the ring. He wasn't completely out of the ring. His feet were in the ring, his butt, his back, his head, and everything else was out of the ring.
If y'all never saw this fight, man, Gerald knocked this motherfucker out, bro. It looked like a cartoon. His feet were dangling. And I watched it like, oh, it's over. But he started flapping around like someone just injected him with some serum. He started flapping around like a fish, rolls over, gets the fuck up, gets back in the ring. I didn't know about no 20-second rule. But Andre's saying that half his feet were in the damn ring. So technically, that's a 10 count. Now they're saying, when you go back and look at it, it was beyond a 10 count. It was a slow count. Now, look at where they're at. Look at who he's fighting. The fight was supposed to be over. But being that it continued, and by the way, after that knockdown, the way the fight continued, you'd have thought Nigel never got knocked down.
Yeah, he seemed to get stronger as the fight went on.
Listen,
Now,
man, go ahead.
There's another aspect to this as well. That dude, Stan Johnson, was not a boxing coach.
No.
He had been in the camp around Don King. Don King has had him on. You know, he was carrying buckets and stuff like that. That's who he was. But do not rule out the fact that before the ring walk, Gerald's mouthpiece mysteriously disappeared.
We're gonna get to that. She speaks on that mouthpiece disappearing.
Right.
Does any of this sound familiar?
Listen, at the end of the day, Ben seemed to get stronger. Gerald, who is not a guy that Roy Jones and some of the other guys, the Lonnie Bradleys and all those guys who were in the middleweight division around that time or whatever, they would tell you Gerald was not a punk.
Mm-hmm.
So his disposition and personality and character was he'd fight, you know, he'd go down for his.
Mm-hmm.
But do not rule out the fact that they were over in the UK. He had no veteran coaches with him. None. Now imagine you could have veteran coaches with you and they still don't know the climate of being in another country and all the things that can happen to you. And then you're in a world championship fight and you are in there with you don't know this at the time, but you're brought in to make the champ look good.
That's right.
Go
That's
ahead,
right.
bro.
I haven't gotten this. Listen, I'm gonna play it in a second, but you know, when I listen to this whole thing,
Because check it out, guys. Ben was at a certain level. He could not beat Chris Eubank.
at all.
He couldn't beat him. So they needed something to sell Ben. They needed something. Are you listening, Jerron Ennis? They needed something. Go ahead, bro.
Scott in that super chat, he says G-Man versus Reggie Johnson would have been a war. Well, I'm kind of glad things happen for a reason. Things happen for a reason. These guys stole G-Man from us, and there was a lot of mismanagement. Let's go ahead. I haven't gotten this. I was about to say, I haven't been this annoyed watching a documentary or a program since Roots, the original one, not the new one, the original Roots. That shit'll make you mad. As a black person, that shit'll make you mad. That's how mad I got listening to this.
So I think that's a 10 count situation. What were you told?
I never watched the fight, Andre.
You've never watched the fight ever?
Never. I've tried.
Wow.
I've seen bits and pieces, like on the internet, and I can't watch it.
Gerald has a massive first round. I mean, again, it looked like another, Gerald McClellan round where he's gonna take care of business. But all of a sudden, Nigel Benn has this surge of energy. And he looked half dead in the first round, but now he's back and he's bouncing and,
You hear this? You guys gotta see it. You think that bro. You guys, if you have not seen it, there was no fucking way. I remember watching it like, now it's 95, I'm 20 years old. I'm like, bro, well, about 19 going on 20. I was like, I knew what I was looking at. You know what I said? What kind of shit is he on? That's what I said.
And let me add this.
Damn.
Flash forward to Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Fury got up along with Jack Reese's assistance in that 12th round of the first fight. But guys didn't get up from Deontay. Didn't. And that was something really weird. And what was really reiterated was the third fight. And Deontay put him down clean twice. And this guy got up and continued to fight into the deep part of the fight, the 11th, 12th round, and looked like he had only been about 3 or 4 rounds. You can't convince me that that's heart, guts, determination, and conditioning. Because you can fucking look at that guy and tell he ain't in condition. You can look at him.
You can tell, man.
I've been watching boxing damn near all of my life. And I know what I'm looking at when I see a conditioned fighter. And then when I can see a fighter that's kind of on something.
And don't look now, Stormy. He did it again. He retired after his last fight with Usyk, laid low. Now he's coming back. When you retire, you don't get tested. He
The
did
drug
it again.
testing stops. Yep.
He did it again. And
Ryan
nobody-
did it after the Rolly fight. How long was Ryan out of the ring? So-called hand injury or whatever. We never saw him with a cast. We never saw him in a sling. We never saw that. We just saw him off scene. We didn't see him.
Stormy, why didn't anyone ask for MRIs or X-rays for
Why
him?
didn't anyone question what I just said? Because they don't want to deal with the facts, the truth of what we're talking about. I've been saying it all along. When they talk about Ryan after the Devin Haney fight, they say, well, with the situation that happened. What the fuck is the situation? Articulate it. Say what it is. Stop pretending like something nefarious was done to Ryan. He was suspended because he had banned substances in his body. That means he's a drug cheat. Say it. Because you can bet your ass that if it was a black man, it'd be on the damn 6 o'clock news and pasted on every magazine that you can read and spoken about by these bullshit commentators every chance they get to say something.
Accountability is non-existent, but I expect that from you hoes.
He's that type of fighter. He don't really have a style. He's just all energy, guts, you know, and he's just coming at you. He started pressing Gerald in round 2, and I started seeing Gerald kind of move around a little bit, almost like, you know, he was trying to get his wind back. You know, he probably punched himself out in the first round, which is normal. But as the fight continued, 3rd round, 4th round, I still see Gerald kind of boxing. I don't see him standing his ground like he likes to do. Then the mouthpiece started being halfway out. And I'm like, man, that's a no-no. Like, you don't, if nothing else is going to show your opponent that either you're tired or it's a sign of weakness, something wasn't right with that. What do you make of that? Just knowing what you know now, the research y'all have done, when you reflect back, just give me the first couple rounds, you see him moving like that. I know you haven't seen it, but I know you know of it.
Listen to this. I need you guys to pay attention.
First of all, it wasn't Gerald's mouthpiece.
What you mean?
That wasn't his mouthpiece.
Whose was it?
So on the way out of the dressing room to the fight, Gerald's original mouthpiece came up missing.
Y'all hear that? I didn't know that until I watched this.
And Stan Johnson gave him a mouthpiece from Don King that was put in Gerald's mouth.
Now listen, y'all don't fight, so let me explain to you why that's ridiculous and why that shit was flopping out of his mouth. When you get a mouthpiece, the first thing you do when you take it out the pack is take it home and you boil it. Then you put it in your mouth, and being that the rubber is soft, it adjusts to your jawline. You can't take a mouthpiece out the pack and then get in the ring a goddamn fight with it. There's a couple of kinds of mouthpiece. Ones that just go to the top. Then you got ones that are fixed with the breathing holes in the middle. Vernon Forrest used to rock those.
Holyfield too.
Holyfield too. There's different types, but every mouthpiece I ever had, you take it out the pack, you boil it. The rubber turns soft, and then it adjusts to your jawline, so it's comfortable. You cannot wear a goddamn mouthpiece fresh out the pack for a pro fight. But wait a minute, where'd the mouthpiece go? Why is it missing?
Not only that, the mouthpiece they give him, where the fuck did it come from? And what was it in? Could it have been saturated in something, some kind of chemical or something that could have an effect on Gerald? Now, I'm going to tell you something, just listening to this and recalling the fight, because it's been very hard for me to watch that fight.
I can't watch it,
I've
bro.
only watched that fight maybe twice. The night that it was live on Showtime, and then I forced myself to watch it again like a year later or something after that. I got it on videotape. I got the whole program on videotape. But what I wanted to say is, now hindsight being 2020, when he came out, because Gerald had gotten knockouts. He wasn't just knocking people out in the first round. He's had second, third, fourth, fifth round knockouts, all of that. But tainted water. We don't know now, because Gerald can't tell you now. He don't have no recollection of the fight like that anymore. So he can't articulate to you now that, you know what, after that first round, man, it was like I felt weak or something, and I was trying to get my energy back. I was trying to, he can't say those things. And guess what? That corner was not his corner man.
Oh my God.
Do you see the disaster here? Do you see? They can't even recount what was going on because that wasn't their guy. He wasn't their guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a mismatch. But I'm going to tell you, the one who was the beneficiary out of this was Don King. Nigel Benn couldn't stand up against Chris Eubank Jr. Their first fight, the referee had to step in and stop it. He slumped into the referee's arms in that 7th round or whatever, when Eubank had finally put it on him. You understand? This referee was an inexperienced referee, had never done a world championship fight.
See that?
So that's a Don Planet guy, right? Because Don ain't gonna put a guy in there like that for his guy unless he's working for Don. So with Gerald depleting and Ben coming on, the perfect storm.
It was a perfect storm, and it was a shit storm for Gerald, and he had no idea. He had no idea.
Help.
He had none.
If Emmanuel Stewart was there, he could feel the vibe of everything that's going on. He would be able to tell and give instruction.
He'd have pulled out the fight. They wouldn't have made it to the ring. Once Emmanuel figured out what was going on, he'd have pulled out the fight.
Probably, yes.
Pulled it out. Salute to Scott in that super chat. He says, love the passion you both have for the sport. This is all we got, brother. This is all we got. And a lot of the stuff that what we talk about today is a direct reflection of what's happened in the past that went ignored. I need you guys to understand. They wanted this. They wanted this to be Devin Haney. They wanted this to be Deontay Wilder. Every fighter that has been cheated. I'm not talking about, Margarito, what they did in their little camp and got away with. I'm talking about when you're fighting against a system. Gerald had no idea he was fighting a machine. He had no idea it was organized corruption. And I'm going to get to organized corruption in a second in reference to Nigel Benn. I'm going to get to that in a second. But he had no idea what the hell he was up against. He had no idea. My brother Trill Will in that super chat salute. He said, salute fellas in the chat. Man, salute you, good brother.
And see, Gerald's personality was, he was quite arrogant and everything at the time. So he's not going to tell these guys, hey man, I don't feel right. Hey, something's going on. Something on. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to tough it out. He's trying to go through.
Yep. Let me address Chase Bowers' comment. And just hear me out, brother, before I go back to this. He said boxing needs Drew Tight and not no damn Dana White. On the contrary, I appreciate the comment, but on the contrary, boxing needs Dana White because only a ninja could stop a ninja.
Mic drop.
Turkey went and got a devil to deal with the devils. Even with Turkey, with all this money, nobody was going to respect him. But you know what he did? Dana White's been talking for a decade. Hey, I got to get back. I got to get into boxing. And we laughed because we was like, man, he ain't got the capital. And we watching what he's doing in UFC, and it's messed up. He can't breathe in boxing. Turkey came. He said, you know what? Everybody could breathe in boxing because everybody got a price. Bang. Dana, come work with me. Zuffa, Riyadh. And now you got financial backing. We're going to pay these fighters. They need only a devil can stop a devil. And I love watching Dana White go back and forth with Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren with $1 billion lawsuit. And fucking Barry Hearn crying, Bob Arum like just quiet. This is the quietest I've ever seen Bob Arum. Is he dead? Check his pulse. He like 104 years old. So boxing is right where I want it to be. And it needs to get torn down to get brought up. So I love it. Oh yeah, no, let's not forget. Yeah, exactly. Ravens Nation. Oscar crying and shit. I love it. I love it. This boxing is getting exactly what it deserves. So back to Lisa McClellan talking about his missing mouthpiece.
Because I guess it was go time, too late to stop. So he just put the mouthpiece in and went on to the fight, went to the ring. But it wasn't his mouthpiece.
So he had an issue with it fitting properly.
Definitely.
Somebody in this camp got compromised. That's the translation. Somebody in the camp got compromised. Just like in Deontay's camp, somebody in the camp got compromised. Mouthpieces just don't go missing.
Why?
I remember even all the years of growing up, whenever Gerald got a new mouthpiece, he would boil it and then he'd chew on it and he'd boil it.
Didn't I just say that?
Again and he'd chew. So he would have never like had that type of fight and didn't have his correct mouthpiece.
Man, so it's the 8th round of this fight. And similar to the first round, this looks like it's gonna be another Gerald McClellan type of finish. He hurts Nigel Ben, and he's hurt, he's wobbled, and he gets up and somehow, some way, he survives again. But in the 9th round, with a minute and a half left to go, Nigel Ben kind of lunges in and throws a punch, and there's a headbutt there.
Oh my
and
God,
Gerald.
Chill. Look at that, man. Look at that shit. Bro. He put all of that beeswax because he was growing his dreads out back then. All on his face, his eye. My God, man. There's a lot of moving parts with this. This was the perfect shitstorm. This is all bad, man. All bad.
Takes a knee. It was interesting to me because the referee didn't give Gerald any time, never asked Gerald.
Never acknowledged the hairbutt. Never acknowledged. He looked at Gerald taking a knee, but he didn't look at what it caused him to take the knee.
Correct.
I remember that.
Correct.
Gerald, are you okay? He rushed him along. He was telling him, I saw him do this with his hands. And he told him to get up, and then he told him to come here.
You see that? That's after the headbutt. The ref is rushing him. You see this? You hearing it?
And he grabbed him, wiped
Now, Andre's not talking about corruption. He's just asking the questions. But we know what this sport consists of. And yes, I'm suspecting foul play based off of what I'm going to tell you before the program's out.
Ripped his gloves and he pushed him right back out there. What was your assessment of the referee's job that he did that night between the knockdown, being a slow count, that situation in the 9th round, which is 1 round before everything took place and the fight was ultimately ended?
He definitely failed, Gerald. He didn't call Nigel on the rabbit punches.
And the rabbit punches too, which were happening all night.
Stormy, do you remember how many times he popped Gerald behind his head, man?
Dude, at least 10.
Oh my God, bro.
At least 10.
I can't watch this fight, man.
Because, you know, do you know what the danger of rabbit punches is?
There's nerves in the back of the neck.
The brainstem.
Right. If those nerves get damaged, you ever had, ladies and gentlemen, not to get in y'all business, if y'all have a relative that has Alzheimer's or dementia, those nerves are right back here. When they deteriorate, and it just happens. They can deteriorate on their own, and then next thing you know, you're like a vegetable. You don't know where you are. But if you hit somebody back here, they can go blind. All kinds of shit in the back of your neck. The brainstem is right back there. That's why rabbit punching is illegal. There were like 15 rabbit punches in this. Bro, I'm getting mad talking about this, bro. Because of the, we know
you
the
remember the Devin Haney Ryan Garcia fight? That's what Ryan got a point taken away from.
Yep,
rabbit punching, vicious rabbit punches. And Ryan knows Devin from years in the amateurs and everything, which is a real crying shame because that means he had intent against Devin. To hit him, okay, I rocked him, I wobbled him. Now I'm going to hit him in the back of the head. I got this juice in my veins. I'm going to take full advantage of everything I can. You see, when Bill Haney say, they tried to kill my son. You see, this is not, you know, people can get on here. You could like this guy, you could like that guy. You could not like this guy and hate this other guy. But I'm telling you, when we're talking about the welfare of the fighters and the sport, we don't ever want to see anyone carried out of the ring and can't return home to their families the way that they left them. Okay? But when someone is cheating, I want it acknowledged. I want them punished because this is not for play. This is real. I've worked corners from guys. I've had to stop a guy and say, hey, no more for you. Okay? I had to get on a ref and say, hey, what the hell are you doing? You watching this? Do something. Listen, all it takes is to be proactive. But there's too much of this bullshit about people choosing sides and shit. The damn Participation Trophy Society. You motherfuckers, I wish you never exist. Because this is what is born of that. Favoritism and shit. We were just talking about that this man came from an era where they were beasts in the ring.
Yep.
You have to damn near kill one of them to beat them.
Let me remind you, clown.
They are so damn soft, you don't even want to fight your damn shadow. And to sit up and be critiquing and saying things and all of that and don't know what the hell you're talking about. Someone earlier in the chat said, you guys have a passion. You damn right. Because you know what? You don't play boxing.
That's right.
You don't. These men go through several weeks to a few months of their lives to prepare for one night. And I talk about it all the time. These officials, the judges, take it away from them. with
That's right.
bullshit decisions and stoppages and all kinds of foolishness. Something needs to be done. So yeah, you damn right we like Zuffa coming in because there's a new sheriff in town.
That's right.
And
Burn
there
it.
are fighters who will benefit from this. You don't see the long game because you're too busy looking at your fucking noses.
Yep. To remind you guys, and that was Scott. Salute to you, Scott. To remind you guys, I am not an AJ guy because of the movement outside of the ring. I never liked it. Never liked it. When he was about to fight Big Baby Miller, I'm like, yeah, New York, stand up. Let's get it. Let's go. I thought Miller was going to get him. And Miller popped dirty for like 4 or 5 different bands, 4 or 5 different banned substances. And I got on my channel and I said, look, man, I'm not an AJ guy at all. But what the hell was Gerald trying to do? Kill him? I don't co-sign that. And I got on my platform and I said that. I don't care. We from New York. I don't care about none of that. If he had gotten there with AJ and AJ ended up like Gerald, and then we found out after the fact he had a whole pharmacy in his bloodstream, who would I be? He'd be like, oh, well, I don't care. He's from New York. I don't care. The punches still landed. How come AJ didn't block all the punches? You see how stupid that sounds? And let me remind y'all, and I'm going to stay on this point, how one-sided and ridiculous a lot of you fair-weathered fans are. Every time I talk about Devin Haney, every time I talk about Deontay Wilder, y'all talk about it don't matter whether they had faulty equipment or drugs involved. Those punches still landed. But when I talk about Miguel Cotto, everybody rolls out the sympathy card. When I get on my platform and say, hey, Miguel Cotto got 2 losses on his record that shouldn't be there. First of all, you don't know one. They automatically say the Margarito fight. They don't even know I'm talking about the Pacquiao fight at 47. And they don't even know why. But let's stick to the Margarito situation. You assholes. Margarito was never caught cheating Miguel Cotto. We just put 2 and 2 together because he got caught trying to cheat Shane Mosley a fight later. And then we went back and said, oh, wait a minute. That's why Miguel looked like hamburger meat. But he was never caught. We zoomed in on the hand wraps that looked like plaster, but he was never caught. That doesn't uphold in court. You can't tell. Why is it that we can put that together and say, nah, he definitely cheated Cotto, but the black fighters don't get extended the same courtesy? This is why I hate you motherfuckers. I said Miguel Cotto's a Hall of Famer. He lost his last pro fight. I didn't care. I said, march that man to the Hall of Fame now. Check the resume. He didn't win all his fights, but check the resume. Miguel Cotto is an instant classic. But you motherfuckers never give us the same courtesy. Ever. You knuckle draggers and you non-blacks, I see all of you. But y'all wasn't watching boxing when this happened to Gerald McClellan, and now you're hearing there was some bullshit going on in the UK. And I suspected it, but this was the first time I actually heard her speak on it. Let me play the rest of this. I get mad listening to this.
All fight long.
One thing about Gerald Andre, Gerald was a very skilled boxer because he had done it for so long. It was nothing about boxing he didn't know. And for him to take a knee,
That's uncharacteristic.
he was in trouble.
Yeah. Well, here we are at the 10th round now, and Gerald is boxing. He on his toes. I think he did an Ali shuffle in that 10th round. He's boxing good. It's probably one of the best rounds I saw him have outside of that first round. And if you looking at if you just turn the fight on in that 10th round, nothing seems amiss or wrong. It looks like Gerald is getting his second win. And all of a sudden, Nigel Benn lands a big overhand right. Puts Gerald down. Gerald gets up, and a few seconds later, and he's blinking when he got hit with that overhand right. I think the announcers are talking about it. They're commenting on it. Shortly after that, gets up, referee wipes his gloves. He lets the action ensue. And then there was a small uppercut, I believe, that landed on the chin of Gerald, and he just stayed down at that point. And Freddie Pacheco and the other announcers at Showtime, they're shocked because that ain't what G-Man does. That's not what Gerald would do. He's that menacing guy. He's the
They're showing pictures here. I don't even want to show the pictures, man.
guy that's putting people down and making them quit or knocking them out. He's not. It's not the other way around. And the referee raised it off, and I forgot what that moment was like. I'm not sure I've seen anything like that in a boxing ring. You have a crowd of over 10,000 people going crazy, cheering because our guy just defended, Nigel Benn just defended his title. He been knocked down twice, and he pulled it out. The cameras are looking at Nigel Benn. You can hear the crowd. It's electric. Freddie Pacheco cannot get over the fact, the announcer, that and this is the danger of being a commentator and something happening to a fighter and you not having the understanding or the knowledge of what happened, and you speculate. So our producers are always in our ear, lay out, let's just hear what's happening. Lay out, let's get the word from the doctor. Freddie Pacheco, man, he was all over the place. He quit. I can't believe he quit. Well, something's got to be wrong. Maybe it's this, man. And he's going down the list of what it could be, what it couldn't be. But you see Nigel Benn going crazy, celebrating. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you hear Freddie Pacheco say, wait a second. Something's wrong with Gerald McClellan. He's sitting down in his corner, not on the stool, on the canvas. And you see him just kind of sitting there and he's just looking up. He's blinking, he's trying to figure it out. The camera pans back to Nigel Benn, celebrating. It's panning out to the crowd. And you hear these roars, and it's like it's devastating. It's unsettling because I know what's happening right now. I've seen this movie before. And then all of a sudden he says, wait, something happened. Gerald McClellan is out. He seems to have passed out in the corner. And you see about 5 or 6 people. I don't know who were doctors or who weren't. They look confused. They put a neck brace on him. They put him on a gurney now. Now it's getting real. They're focusing less on Nigel Benn and more on Gerald McClellan, but the crowd is still going crazy. I don't think they understand what's going on. Then they put a mask on him. They put what looks like maybe oxygen, but it's like a manual oxygen where they kind of pump it. And now it's getting real. And you hear Jimmy Lennon Jr., the announcer, asking the crowd to move, pave the way for Gerald to get out of there. We need to get him to some help. We need to get him to an ambulance. And man, Lisa, that thing broke my heart because you and I have talked, and I want you to elaborate on this right now, but so much time was going by. I mean, so much time was going by, Lisa, and they're confused and they're trying to figure out what's going on, and he ain't moving. And you mentioned to me that if he could have been administered oxygen quickly, he might have been saved from the situation he was in. Did I get that right?
This whole fucking thing was a goddamn disaster. This whole fucking thing was Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Everything was bad from the moment this brother landed over there. Everything was fucked up. The moment he couldn't find his mouthpiece, if he knew better, he should have packed up and said, let's get the fuck out of here. My mouthpiece? My mouthpiece, of all things. Y'all keep thinking
that was the inexperience of both he and those people he had with them.
Yeah.
You see, because understand, there will be a moment where thought crosses your brain. Something's not right. That's usually the voice of wisdom, intuitive wisdom that comes through. But we don't often listen to that voice. We hear it all the time in our everyday lives. This is something that I like to talk about when I'm doing that Tuesday tussle, because again, you talk about real life and you talk about, a sport or something that we cover. Listen, man, it comes down to, again, unfortunately, Gerald acted out in passion. His passion and love for what he does, it overtook his greater sense of objectivity. He didn't know that these kind of things could happen to him. But now he is a standard bearer for anyone else who has come through the sport. He's the poster child that when something's not right, stand on your merit, because you don't have to bust your head wide open to know that the head can be burst wide open. Huh? You don't have to be that person. And you can live with the decisions that you make. No, I'm not going. You ever had that thing you say, well, I'm stepping out, and you're gonna let me cross the street right here. Next thing you know, a car runs off the road and smashes right into something where you would have been walking.
Shit like that's happened to me.
You listened to that voice and it told you to move, and you did. It's the same voice that say, don't do that. And you go out there and show your ass, and here come the police putting them bracelets on your ass.
Oh, I got a story like that. I got to save it for Patreon.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, these things are true. But listen, as a former coach and trainer, this is why I can say this, because you got somebody's life in your hands. Or even as a mentor or a teacher, you're shaping and molding someone. They're like clay in your hands. Now you can make an art piece, or you can make a POS. But the thing about it is, with your hands, that's the final touch. That's the final judgment on that. So when it said that, oh, we speak real passionate about our boxing and everything, you're damn right. Mm-hmm. These men have families. They have children, wives, extended family. And they reserve the right for the respect for what they do. And that even comes in whether we like them or not. Because you don't have to live with them. They don't have to come home and look across your dinner table, look at them. When they come on, you can turn the channel, can't you? Or come back into the room after they finish fighting. You see how easy that is? But when they fucking up, when they're cheating, when they're doing underhanded shit and disrespectful shit to the community, to their own people, that's when you're supposed to say something. That's when accountability is supposed to come onto the table. That ain't the time to shut up and be quiet. That ain't the time to hide your hand. That's the time to throw them damn rocks and bricks and hit them right upside their head where they need to feel the pain for what they're doing. That's disrespectful to not only themselves, their families, you, but each and every fighter that has come before them. You got a guy in Floyd Mayweather who is out here and people love his dirty ass single worn draws, huh? Yeah, because he likes to boast about that. He only wears one, huh? But he shit on the fighters that have come before him. He wouldn't even be able to do what he's doing if the history hadn't laid before him? Dumbass. And so now you got to come back. And you think you're going to map it out like you did once before? It ain't going to go like that no more. It ain't. Because they got you. They got you in the snare that you was never supposed to be in.
Yep.
It all comes clean in the wash.
World is 360 degrees on access. You get what you put out 110%. That nigga really thought he got away with life. I always said, it might not happen in the boxing ring, but in another aspect in life, it's going to happen to him. And now look at him now. I bet he wished he had that $8 million he dropped on Gucci when we was trying to protest that fucker now, right? He still he had dropped $8 million on Gucci, but he owes Logan Paul a little over $1 million. Come on, my nigga. Come on, my nigga. Let me get back to this shit. Crazy work.
It definitely could have helped. He had a bleed on his brain, and his brain was swelling. Let me go back. Well, and I've asked the question several times, why that ref? You have a title fight. Why would you choose a ref, an unknown ref, to ref the fight?
Pause. Hey, man. Wilder Fury 3. 4 days before the main event, I called Tay Jones and said, yo, you know they switched the referee? He said, to who? It was supposed to be Ortega. They moved him down to the co-main and elevate Mora, or Moron, whatever the fuck that guy's name is, to the main event. And he never refereed a heavyweight world title fight. And this was the guy that was suspended for not calling the low blows with Abner Mares versus Joseph Ekbeko. There was like 50 low blows. He never called them. Ekbeko probably can't even have babies now. Go look at that fight. Joseph Ekbeko versus Abner Mares, and count the low blows. And Moron never called it. And he was suspended for that. How the fuck he gets the assignment of the main event for the heavyweight championship of the world? Why'd they change it 4 days prior? You can't tell me anything about this sport, man. You guys, man, I swear to God. I guess that Beckham should have just wore a thicker cup when Mars was punching him in the balls. He's literally using his balls like speed bags.
With no experience, why was that ref in there? That's the key, because someone should have known before Gerald had to take the knee that there was a problem. Even the ringside doctors, with all the blinking, didn't acknowledge that there was a problem.
Man, it seems like it was just, the other thing that really hurt about this situation was if he's counted out in that first round, this may never happen.
See?
If
round 4, Fury versus Wilder 3. Round 4, that fight was over, bro. Wilder Fury won.
Wilder Fury won the 12th round. The fight was over. The fight was over, man. And see, it opened up the door for all this other foolishness. See, they talk about Devin in the fight with Ryan because he cheated. Oh, it was only a billionth of a gram of ostarine. It was still where it wasn't supposed to be. And it's a banned substance. Oh, Devin took too much punishment in that. He'll never come back. Well, Deontay took a lot of punishment from Tyson Fury in the second fight because he was cheated in that fight. Cheated. Drugged. Fury has some funny shit going on with his gloves that people still don't want to admit to. His fists were in the wrists of the gloves. There's evidence, photographic evidence. You saw the glove moving like it was. It looked like a water balloon being shaken at the end of a stick. They don't want to acknowledge that. You know why? Because what did Mauricio Suleiman say after that fight? What did he say, Drew?
We're just trying to ruin a historical night in boxing. That's what he
Yeah.
said.
It was
Exact words.
right?
And he called us irresponsible.
Yeah.
Us.
It was historical, all right, because Wilder was being served up before the world in Black History Month for
Yep.
what they were doing. This was by design, and someone in his camp had access to help this situation along. You see, the truth just has to be out there. You can't cover that up. Mauricio, Tyson, and guess what? Fury can no longer fight in the U.S.
They never
I
talk
wonder
about
why
that.
that is.
They never
I
talk.
wonder why that is.
ESPN never said that. Y'all would not know it unless we said it. We say it here.
He walked around the ESPN studios high on cocaine with a jacket with no shirt on, cussing and swearing and everything else on live TV. Oh, well, I guess we can't say anything about this. That's the heavyweight champion of the world. What? That's the equivalent of, Obama was president. But if he was on a hot mic shooting the shit, telling people to grab women by the pussy,
He wouldn't been nowhere near the White House.
they would have got his ass out of there the next fucking day.
He'd have been done. Automatic.
But because that was a white man, right? It's okay. Huh?
Not even American. Not even American.
And a
And this how
white man with what,
disrespectful
30
y'all
something felonies? What do we say? Do you see the bullshit? Don't it stink?
That shit smell awful.
And then you got people like Keyshawn Davis out here.
Ooh, y'all wait till Monkey Tuesday. I'm dedicating a
Man.
whole life to him.
Please.
Y'all wait. I'm telling y'all straight up, Tuesday, I'm only gonna be on YouTube for like maybe 20 minutes. I'm telling y'all right now, just go over to the damn Rumble. Because what I got to say about Keyshawn and his boyfriend or brother, whoever he is, it's not meant for Google ears. Let me continue with this.
And this is all speculative. If the coach recognizes something is wrong and stops that fight and waves it off, who knows what could have happened. I'm sure something was obviously going on because Gerald was describing something isn't right, but man. And then everything that happened after the final knockdown with the time wasted and different things like that, man, those things, how often do you wonder about how different things could be if some of those check marks were handled right?
Well, definitely, Andre, if the ringside doctor, anytime you get a fighter that has any kind of pressure on his brain, you can look in his pupils, and if they're dilated, that's a sign that there's pressure. It takes 3 minutes for the even if you think something could be wrong, it takes 3 minutes, seconds for the doctor to come and just check the fighter's pupils to see if they're, if his pupils was dilated. It just seemed like nobody cared. That's what it seemed like. Gerald was in the wrong place at the wrong time that night. He should have never been there.
I mean, I seen Frank Bruno. I don't know where he was at in his career at that time, but he's heavyweight champ, former heavyweight champ. I don't know what type of suit that man had on, red or I don't know what it was, but he was at the ring, hitting on the ring. Like, you can't do that.
He's Nigel's best friend, I thought,
Mm-hmm.
or was back then. I don't think he is anymore, but he was then. And then another thing, when you mentioned Nigel, being so energized. When we went over to England in 2011, Nigel's, one night I woke up Andre and I just looked up Nigel being on the internet. Let me see what this dude doing. And I started reading that he tried to commit suicide and
I need y'all to pay attention to this, y'all. Pay attention to this.
different stuff. So I reached out to his agent. I found his agent and I emailed him. And I called him. His name was Kevin Lushing. And we talked, but I didn't want to talk to Nigel. I guess I found comfort in talking to Kevin. So we talked for a while and he said, well, you know, how are things financially? So I said, well, I mean, I can't work. I'm here with Gerald 24 hours a day. And he said, come over to England and we'll have a fundraiser and help you out. So right away, I'm like, oh, hell no, I'm not going back over there. Or I'm not going over there because that was the first time I went. And so after about a year, maybe 7-8 months planning, I went. And when we first got there, Nigel came in the room the first time I had ever met him.
Pay attention.
He came in the room and he kept telling me he was sorry. And I always wondered if this was an accident, because like I was sitting on the edge of the bed and he came and he knelt down right here, like on his knees. And he kept saying, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And I'm thinking, and even Gerald said that night when they met.
Oh, Gerald was there.
Yeah,
He
I
came
took Gerald with me.
So that fundraiser, they wanted Gerald to be there.
Yeah, I took him over there. And when he went to go talk to Gerald asked him, I said, Gerald, is Nigel Ben? And he said, Nigel Ben? Like, and he started rolling up his sleeves like he was finna fight.
He remembered.
Yeah. And then he was like, I was just playing. I wasn't gonna hit you, man. But he got that sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, man, you almost took my life. And then he said, Lisa, did he do it on purpose or was it an accident? And then that's when Nigel said he wanted them to cut the cameras off because we were filming it. So he went in the other room and cried. And
Are y'all paying attention or are y'all just dicking around? Listen to this.
But Gerald said to him, this could have happened to either one of us, you know. But it always played in the back of my mind. What was he so sorry for? You know?
Did Don King promote Nigel Ben too?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck. All right. Okay. I'm already angry, but it's going to get progressively worse.
What was also something that really struck me. Nigel Ben is celebrating. He doesn't really know what's going on. Gerald is getting worse and worse by the second. And at least I didn't see this. I didn't see the cameras pan to Don going over to Gerald. I saw Don celebrating with Nigel Ben. Now, I understand that that's his fighter, but it's just interesting to me.
If you look at on YouTube, there's the documentary, The Fight of Their Lives, there's a 90-minute version and there's a 60-minute version. We were doing the 90-minute version for the cinema, where you're going to be able to go watch it at the movies. Don King put a stop production on it. Like, we had to quit. We couldn't finish it. Well, anyway, so if you look on the 90-minute version, they sitting in the lobby at the hospital having a victory party while Gerald was in brain surgery.
Did y'all just hear that? Y'all heard that, right? The story about Don King Notorious is that he would go to the ring with one fighter, and depending on who won, he left with the other fighter. That's how he got a hold of Mike Tyson. He came to the ring. I forgot who he came to the ring with, but Mike whooped his ass and he left the ring with Mike Tyson. I need you to understand that this is a foul-ass game. Y'all just heard what she said. Y'all just heard what she said. Let me continue.
Drinking champagne. Don, Nigel, all of them.
Nigel, Ben, Don King, the entourage, Gerald's in brain surgery, and they're drinking Cristal.
They were the party. If you
because he went to the hospital too.
Well, Nigel supposedly passed out, but that's the only way to avoid the urine test also.
Uh-oh. Let me take it a step back. You heard what she just said? When you leave the ring, you're supposed to get tested. Yes, even way back in the 90s. He celebrated. I remember him. I won this fight. I have grit. I'm a Brit. I'm a Brit. Yeah, I'm a Brit. Motherfucker went right to the locker room and passed out, didn't get drug tested. 30 years later, he's crying, I'm sorry to her.
But he's at the hospital celebrating,
drinking alcohol.
But he couldn't take his blood test, which was part of the process. And he's sitting with Don King.
But you'll have some motherfuckers right now in their 20s talking about no, that's just a win. That's just a win. Y'all just mod. Big lips, banana smelling. I mean, huge lips, blue nose baboon looking niggas. Trying to tell you about this game, man. It's fucked off. Trying to tell you. So he's popping bottles. He didn't take a drug test, but he's popping bottles and celebrating with Don King.
Let me get to that real quick. So, and I want you to finish the lobby story. So, heard this, don't know if it's factual. But if you make it back in the UK to your locker room, don't know what the rules are now, what they were back then, but this is what I heard.
You gotta pee.
You gotta give a urine sample.
If you don't, you don't have to.
He didn't make it back to the locker room, not Joe Ben.
That same person that was roaring like a beast.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. He spoke out and said it's exhaustion. So because he passed out, he went to the same hospital as Gerald, right?
Yeah.
They're in the same hospital, man.
Let me take a half a step back. You said because of the time difference, you guys being in the States, this is being, the UK is 8 hours ahead of the West Coast, 5 hours ahead of the East Coast. How did you get word of Gerald's condition, that he had failed and was hurt?
Donnie, the other guy that was in the ring, called.
The friend.
I don't want to just glaze past that, man. Y'all heard this. Y'all heard what she said. A lot of y'all didn't even know that. He ducked the drug testing. He went from pounding on his chest, I'm a Brit, to passing out, and then waking up and going to the same hospital that Gerald's getting brain surgery in, and now he's drinking alcohol in the lobby.
And he wouldn't pass out from the hardest punching middleweight in the division at the time. He couldn't pass out from that.
He was knocked out in round 1 and buzzed in round 10. What are we talking about here? Right, but we just making shit up though, right? Fine.
Yeah, the one that was related to our cousin. He called and said Gerald lost the fight and they took him to the hospital for observation. So we was devastated just hearing that news. And then about 5 minutes later, he called back and said, y'all got to get permission for Gerald to have brain surgery or he gonna die. Y'all got 5 minutes to get him permission to do brain surgery. And by that time, Gerald was already in surgery.
Even so, the decision had already been made.
Yeah, Don King made it.
You heard that, right? Don King made the motherfucker. I swear to God, bro.
Yeah.
Did he have paperwork saying he was next of kin and that he had the power of attorney to do that?
No. Heck no.
Now, how could he do it?
He did it.
Y'all hear that? Y'all proud? Y'all proud? All this corruption going on? You thinking shit got better since then? You good? Y'all all right? Y'all all right? I'm just on here screaming and hollering, right? Because there's nothing wrong with boxing. Devin just couldn't stop a left hook. Deontay just can't box. Right? Y'all all right? Y'all are okay? That white dude, I can't think of his name, bro, but the reason why his family sued the New York State Athletic Commission and won, and they changed the rules because of him. He can't even wipe his ass on his own anymore. He had to have emergency brain surgery and everything. They changed a law for him in my state and paid him millions of dollars. Nobody's saying he's belly aching. No one's saying, oh, he just couldn't stop the punches that the Cuban was hitting him upside the head with. No one says that. That shit is reserved for us.
So Gerald is in brain surgery, trying to save his life. And who told you that Don and Ben were celebrating in the hallway?
I saw the footage. I saw the footage. You can see the champagne bottles, Dom Perignon.
In that 90-minute version.
Being passed around in the lobby.
Ooh, not Dom Perignon. Wow. What's the next update y'all get after that phone call?
At that time, I set up, like an around-the-clock visual, Andre, where I called the hospital probably every 4 hours. To the point where they were tired of me calling. And in the beginning, we had to get permission from Don for the nurses for them to even give us any information. So I ended up calling the American Embassy and telling them he was no kin.
To Don King.
That he needed to be taken out of anything medical going on. By that time, my family was over there. My family made it over like 4 days later. We had to wait to get emergency passports.
Did all you guys go over or just?
No, just Gerald's girlfriend at the time, my youngest sister, and my aunt went over. And then about a week later, my dad went.
And that.
Did I miss it? Did Don King make any kind of preparations to get his family over there? Did he do any of that? Did he help? Asking for a friend.
That's a young lady he had a child with?
Yeah.
Okay. He gets through surgery and he's in a coma for 11 days. Can imagine what the mood is, but what are y'all doing? Is the family, is your father and the mother of his child and his girlfriend still there?
Yeah.
What's going on there?
my dad and Angela stayed there. So we were getting daily updates. My dad was calling me pretty much regularly, probably about 4 or 5 times a
I want to
day,
get to a very important part.
asking me questions. So we was having to get him 60 grand every month.
Out of your pocket.
Yeah.
So he was
60 grand a month for him to stay in that hospital. Eventually, they got him to America. Money exhausted, but you know, let me skip to this other part right here, man. This is crazy.
We didn't have any decision on any of this. Don flew him to Ann Arbor, Michigan. He went to a hospital there, and it wasn't, I didn't see anything special that they were doing for him. So I got on the phone I met the medevac plane over in Michigan, and my dad came back on the plane with him. He was on the medevac plane. So we made preparations to move him to, my dad was living in Wisconsin, so we moved him to Wisconsin to a coma recovery program. And there, when he got there, we didn't know anything because nothing came over from England. Like, we didn't know that he was blind. We didn't know the amount of damage or what he was capable of doing.
How's that even possible though?
You hear that?
We didn't have a clue on any of that. He just got off the plane.
And I don't know that him.
They had
Stop.
when they bought him off the.
I don't know that him flying under those circumstances was a good thing either, because you know, pressure on.
You're not supposed to fly when you have certain things going on with you, especially a head injury. You can't fly.
You know, that could have contributed. It could have contributed.
Man, boxing failed this man, and I'll go as far as to say that they tried to kill Gerald, man. They tried to kill him, and that's why this bro, I'll never forgive Nigel Benn for this.
Plane, they had to unhook him from like the vent system on the plane. So they was bagging him like when they took him out the ring. And they got him in the room, they got him settled, and that was the first time I had seen him.
In Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
And you said that's the hospital where you said my brother ain't staying.
Yeah. And I remember when the nurse first came in, and I was devastated because, like, when you have all that trauma, like, his head was like still real swollen, so it didn't even look like a normal person's size head because he had
He was swollen.
Something about us fighting as kids, and like I said, it was a coma recovery program, so they knew that. So he wasn't tracking, so they started doing tests, and they found out that he was blind. And as the days went on, he stayed there till like September. We seen other people come in just as bad as Gerald and walk out the door.
Wow, really?
But his wasn't happening like everybody else's, so.
Oh, wow.
We decided to just take him home.
You know.
How did you
say this, Drew? The kid was forced into a situation where those people had to bring him back home, but he was in no condition to fly.
Right.
That could have been the thing that really led to him having everything else. He may not have been blind when he left the UK because the surgery relieved the pressure on the brain. But the flight, I know someone who had an eye surgery.
Oh boy.
It was a few years ago. and they were told that for 6 weeks they had to keep their head down. You know, they couldn't look up or whatever. So everything they did, they had to keep their head down. Then when they came out to go outside or something, they had these dark glasses on. And they were from the UK. And they typically went to the UK in the summertime to visit friends and relatives. But they needed 6 weeks after the surgery before flying.
Right.
Because they said that the air pressure of being on a flight would do something and mess up the surgery. So I know they wanted to get him back home and everything, and they couldn't do a lot and have care for him over there. But now, hindsight being 2020, the flight could have done more damage. In fact, it did some damage. It had to, because you're not supposed to do that.
Those doctors were supposed to tell them that.
That one fighter that Chris Eubank gave a brain injury to, Chris Eubank Sr., he had a situation where he was like really in a bad state after that, and the brain surgery and everything. But he has now come back to the point that he can like walk around and stuff like that. But yeah, it's really a traumatic situation when you think about it. I believe that flight did not do him any justice.
I agree.
I read where you guys did it as a family initially, and then slowly but surely, you became the sole caregiver. How long have you been the sole caregiver of Gerald?
Probably about 14 years now. It was my youngest sister, my older sister, my dad, my brothers. But life went on, and so did they.
You just see people slowly just not being able to.
My older sister has some health issues, but she hung in there with me as long as she could.
Now, this situation with Gerald really affected Roy. And from what I read, he was just unwilling to come visit Gerald while he was still active.
He helped a lot financially.
But he did help, though.
Oh, yeah.
He did help, though. He just couldn't.
He did.
He couldn't stomach seeing Gerald in that state while he was still an active fighter.
I remember I used to talk to Roy's attorney all the time, Stanley Leving. He would help me with legal stuff for Gerald. But at one point, he wanted Roy to quit. So he wanted me to write Roy this letter about just the things that Gerald was going through.
Yo, let me say this real quick. Y'all. There was a time where James Toney wanted all the smoke with Nigel Benn and Chris Eubanks. And it's on YouTube where they were on some talk show. And they talked to each other over the airways, you know, it's before the internet, y'all. And James Toney was clowning them, talking about, yo, the UK fighters, they're all bums. I whooped their ass. You want to know why those guys didn't fight James? First of all, James would have whooped their ass. All right, that's number one. But number two, I don't think James was going to the UK to fight those guys. They'd have had to come here. They weren't doing that. And I'm talking about Chris Eubanks and Nigel Benn. They just brushed it off saying, oh, you know, he's rude. we don't do that. We're going to fight. We'll fight here. I'm not going to give him a shot. He's just rude. Man, shut up. James was finna fuck y'all up. That's what was about to happen. And they ain't bring their cheating asses over here. Not so much Chris Eubanks, because I don't know about that. But Nigel Benn, I'm going to get to it. I'm trying to get to this part where she's told something in particular. Let me try and move it up a little bit.
And all those guys, never heard from them.
Also crunk fighters.
Yeah.
Hold on.
29. Not always, no. For the longest, we didn't communicate with anybody from the boxing world. I mean, a few of Gerald's friends, but I only started having a relationship with the WBC probably 15 years in. Never heard from him. Never heard from the WBO. Never heard from any of them. Never heard from like Gerald's best friends, Michael Moore and all those guys. Never heard from them.
Also,
Ooh.
crunk fighters.
Yeah.
Let me explain something to y'all. If Zuffa puts together something silly like, I don't know, a pension plan, a 401k for the fighters, it's over. It's over. I'm just saying.
I mean, we do now over the years, but when it first happened, it wasn't much support from the boxing community.
Man, I know for me, and I talked to you a little bit about this when you came to the gym. I'm not saying it's right, but, we got to deal with the reality of what could be every time we step in the ring. And that's not just fights, as you know, it's sparring too. But, it's tough for a fighter, man, to see that. As I know, the family has its own struggles and they like, man, reach out. But it's tough sometimes. The financial piece is one thing, but to physically show up and see that, very, very difficult. And I know I suppressed it. I knew about Gerald's story, but I know I suppressed it because I'm just trying to put that possibility, that's too real right now. And it's tough because that might not be the right thing to do, but that's a lot of fighters' reality.
We started working on filming. We wanted to help fighters, but we wanted to film the help that we were giving them. Not just where are they now and then throw them away. We wanted to find these guys that were suffering and do stuff to make their life better, do things to give them a better quality of life. So we suffering from brain trauma.
Well, I'm trying to find this part,
It's things you can do to plate, men's houses, everything. So I'd already been working with Mauricio, helping with the fighters get the grant money. So we pitched the idea of what we were doing to Mauricio, and he was very supportive, and probably has been, I ain't gonna say one of our biggest supporters, but he's been a big supporter of what we're doing. Yeah. Virgil definitely look out and help us a lot. We got a couple of trainers that go hard for us. And the biggest issue is the fighter, because they don't want to hear this. They don't want to know about it. There's no education in it for the fighters.
No, not at all. We in the dark ages still.
Yeah.
When you were at the gym, Livingstone Bramble. And so, man, he was before my time, but I grew up watching him. I watched the tapes and watched him online. And you just stop hearing about him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you just stop hearing about him. So you assume that
they must be doing good.
They fine. But then you see a video like that, and I'm looking at Livingstone, and his eyes are dilated. And he's out of there. And they talking to him, and it's like, he's just not responding.
Yep.
Same thing with Wilfred Benitez.
Yeah. All Hall of Fames are not helping, but a majority of them are not. I got a call when which Spinks passed? Michael?
Leon.
Leon. When Leon passed, I had gotten a call from a friend that his wife needed help with cremating him, and she only had 2 days to come up with the money. I started with the Hall of Fames because those guys make a lot of money. When they go to the Hall of Fames, they sign autographs. Those people that are putting on the Hall of Fames, they're selling those autographs. And the fighters, most of the time, don't get anything. So I started there to ask for money to help Brenda, and we couldn't get a dime from the Hall of Fame. No.
Even the International Boxing Hall of Fame?
That was the first one I called.
Oh.
Yeah.
What did they tell you?
At first I asked him for the entire amount, and he told me he would call Brenda tomorrow. And I got all the way down to $100.
Oh, shit.
And he still wouldn't give it to me.
Wow.
Time out, Drew.
Yeah.
Time out. Where the fuck is Mauricio Suleiman in the WBC? Wasn't that for the WBC title? Wasn't Gerald, the WBC champion, moved up to the WBC super middleweight championship?
Yep.
Now you see how it comes full circle?
See that? Y'all paying
That
attention?
lie that he told, trying to take $350,000 from Bud Crawford and $125,000 from Shakur Stevenson, because he says that it goes to the fighters fund.
That's
right?
what he said.
That's what he said. Here you got a guy that needs care for the rest of his life, and you do not even contribute to it. She just said she tried to hit people up, the fighters that are the Hall of Famers. She tried to hit some of them up because some of them made good money. Now, I am aware that there have been a few fighters, including to assist with care for Gerald. But where the fuck is Mauricio at? Because he just told you the biggest bold-faced lie just a few weeks ago in that Chris Mannix interview. See, this is the kind of thing. And you guys think that we be pulling at strings that don't lead nowhere, nothing like that. I just heard the woman say that she is trying to help another fighter, not even her brother, Spinks. She's trying to help get the man buried, cremated. Cremation don't cost as much as a funeral, but no one would help. Now, where the fuck is Suleiman? Where is this guy, Daryl Peoples from the WBA? Where is the WBO? Where is the... Listen, this is why I said the things that I said in my video about what they just tried to do to Jai Opataya, who paid sanctioning fees up front. He didn't wait till after the fight was over. He paid him up front. And then they stripped the damn title from him. They didn't give him his money back. You see? Who else is talking about this? Who else?
Nah, Stormy, we just crying and whining. We're fanboys. We just crying and whining. You guys don't listen. There's a part in this interview where she speaks to somebody, and they said, "Oh, you didn't know?" Absolutely, Nigel was on steroids. There's a part in this interview. I'm trying to find it. I should have.
But we raised it. I raised it in like 3 hours.
The Hall of Fame is constantly reaching out for donations.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they, not only that, I mean, all the autograph stuff that they have, that stuff is being sold. That's the whole purpose of him having all the fighters signing gloves, because he's going to sell them and make a profit. And I just wonder why the fighters don't say, well, where's the money going from these gloves? Or, it's like the ones that are able don't ask those questions and they end up with nothing. Have any fear. I mean, because I know that Gerald knew something was wrong earlier before he took that knee.
He just did.
Because of the kind of person he is, everything has to be in check. It checked and balanced. Everything. And just him with the mouthpiece hanging out of his mouth.
Didn't seem right.
That was not him. So he knew something was wrong early on. He thought he was going to be able to fix it, and he wasn't able to fix it.
That's what we're trying to do, though. You feel pain, you keep going.
Yeah.
You get buzzed, you get hurt, you keep going. I don't know a trainer alive that'll tell you the first time you tell them I don't feel right, just stop. They're going to assess you as best they can. And come on, man. And they're going to start to rah-rah you and put a battery in your back and tell you what you need to go out there and keep fighting.
But if you have, I don't know, I guess to think of a life of a young guy who wanted really bad. Right now, I know a lot of fighters that fight and don't get paid. They don't even get purses. Or they have to sell tickets to pay the opponent and they still don't get paid. Because that's how bad they want it. So, I don't know. I guess it's hard to get in the mind of a fighter. It's really hard. Even with me taking care of Gerald for 29 years and knowing everything about him, he still, with that fight mentality, is very unpredictable. Very unpredictable. But I don't know. But we do have to figure out a way to change it.
Well, Ms. Lisa, I appreciate you. I believe this interview is gonna help a lot.
I must have skipped past it, but she spoke when she was in the UK. She was asked. They asked her. They were talking with her, and dude told her, said, "Hey, man, listen. Absolutely, Ben was on steroids." They told her. Now, I think Stormy's screen frozen. Let me remove him for a second. Now, let me say this. Okay, there you go. You're back. Okay, now let me say this.
I was trying to look for it myself.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I couldn't find it, but I know it was somewhere in the middle of the interview where she was told that. So they said he was on drugs, right? And she was saying, why are you so apologetic and committing a suicide or attempted a suicide? Here's why I believe what she's saying. Here's why I think, first of all, him getting up off the floor at the Undertaker, Gerald McClellan was a hell of a puncher, bro. There was no way he got up off the floor and then they popping, and you duck a drug test, y'all? You ducked the drug test, but you popping bottles of Cristal or champagne at the same hospital Gerald was getting brain surgery in? Okay. But Nigel Benn ran with a gang, y'all. The gang was called the Essex Boys. Let me read this to you. And shout out to Art Hostage, because I didn't know any of this until he came on my channel. The Essex Boys were a notorious gang-controlling drug trafficking in Essex and in Southeast England during the 1990s, led by key members Tony Tucker, Pat Tate, and Craig Rolfe, all murdered in 1995. Other associates include Steve Nipper Ellis, the last surviving member, and informant Darren Nichols. Drew, why are you bringing that up? Nigel Benn's connection to the Essex Boys gang is through Anthony Tony Tucker. Not Tony Tucker, the boxer. This guy named Anthony Tucker. One of the 3 men murdered in 1995 Reddington killings. Tucker worked as a bodyguard and security guard for former boxing champion. Tucker managed nightclub security and was a prominent drug dealer in Essex. Bodyguard role. Tucker was a known minder for the ex-WBC middleweight champion. The gang connection. Tucker was a leader of the group that included Patrick Tate, Craig Wolf, and were all killed in a Range Rover in 1995. I'm not laughing because I'm like, I didn't know this. This is unbelievable. While Tucker was involved in the drug scene and, according to BBC Sports, allowed drug dealing in the clubs he secured in connection with Ben is strictly in a professional security capacity. Bullshit. This dude had access to all kinds of PEDs. You're bugging if you think he didn't. The fact that this guy didn't piss after the McClellan fight, that tells you everything you need to know.
And what's this other guy that's in charge of the running them drugs over there? That doctor, what's his name?
Oh, Dr. Tyson Fury's guy.
Yeah.
Dr. Oh shit. Wait, I'll tell you right now.
He made that famous quote, if you get popped, it's your fault or something. What did you say that quote he had?
It's easy to beat a drug test. If you get popped, it's basically your fault. I'll tell you right now because I have a video of him. I was just speaking about him. That's Tyson Fury's narcotic man. He's a big fat Middle Eastern dude. He's like 6'6". Big fat motherfucker. Big cheating, fat, nasty motherfucker. He got an Instagram and all that. But we be making it up though. Is it Dr. I know I have his picture here. Dr. Usman. Uzi. Dr. Usman. That guy. Dr. Uzi. Fucking. So now that we know, y'all didn't know that. I didn't know that. Shout out to Odd Hostage. He told me when he was on the show. Dr. Usman Sajjad. Thank you, young Abel. So Nigel Ben was affiliated with the Essex Boys. His chief security person was a drug dealer. All them niggas are dead. So what he crying for? I'm sorry. He tried to commit suicide. You know why? He couldn't look himself in the mirror. I guess it's different with gypsies, so I was told. Because that's just a way of life. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. That's what I was told. I don't know anything about it. That's what I was told. So Tyson Fury could look himself in the mirror all day because that's a way of life for him. He could take a lie detector test and pass it. Not because he didn't do it, because there's no guilt. He says, well, this is part of life. This is what we do. That's what I was told. I don't know nothing about no gypsies until all of this happened. I'm like, what's wrong with these dudes? Oh, you ain't know? No, that's what they do. Hey, y'all Americans, y'all ever, when y'all were younger, y'all ever heard that term? Yo, he gypped me. I used to say that all the time when I was a kid. Yo, they gypped me. That cost 50 cents and I paid $1. They gypped me. I never knew where that came from. It came from gypsies.
Yep. That's what
you know what else? You know what else is fucked up? Storm, you remember that term when you was younger? Indian giver? Yeah. Indian giver. You know what that came from? They trying to say the Indians gave the land to the Pilgrims. No, they didn't. They stole it. You an Indian giver. Now you want shit back. You gave it to me. Now you want it back. You an Indian giver. First of all, you know Indians in North America. They're natives.
What is that little cartoon with them characters that cartoon with those characters where they I'm trying to think of them. They all have the weird looking, look like it's drawn with a pencil, but it's like some young characters. I can't think of the name of it now, but they say you're a gimme backer. It's like you have shit, they want to take it back. You're a gimme backer.
Boy, I'll tell you, man, the things you learned late in life. But I wanted to share this. Let me stop sharing this for a second. I wanted to share this. This is very important before we leave. I'm gonna share this first. New York State Athletic Commission mishandled tragic Magomed Abdul Salamov. I'm sorry for butchering his name. Do y'all remember this? This was back in 2016. According to a report released Monday, the New York State Athletic Commission failed to carry out its responsibilities prior, during, and after the bout in which heavyweight Magomed Abdul Salamov suffered brain damage and partial paralysis in a November 2013 fight against Mike Perez in Madison Square Garden. State Inspector General Catherine Leahy Scott's 48-page report found New York State Athletic Commission to be rife with problems. Now I'm gonna stop right there for a second. Y'all don't remember this? Okay, maybe you'll remember this. Share screen. This is the fight. I remember watching this. This was on HBO. This is the fight.
Oh, good hook. And good left hand by Abdulsalamov.
Tremendous show of courage by Abdulsalamov. Tremendous show of skill by...
After this fight, he went to the hospital and went into a coma.
Mike Perez.
Tremendous heavyweight.
In Atlantic City, she had that right. Judge Stewart, a real veteran judge. I love the guy. He's been judging since...
Look, he's alert. He's talking, eye contact.
1978, as you see.
Don Trella, 97-92.
Stood for the decision.
All to the winner by unanimous decision. Still undefeated, and the new champion, Mike the Rebel Perez.
You would never think that anything crazy happened, right? You would never think that, right? Okay, let me continue though.
The biggest danger in boxing isn't the punch, it's the damage it leaves behind. David Price retired after suffering multiple concussions. Magomed Abdulsalamov fell into a coma after a brutal fight and was left permanently disabled.
Look at that. Look at that. That's the same guy. Stood for the decision. He lost. After the fight, he went to the hospital, had that brain surgery. Look at that. That's him. So when you see Gerald McClellan take a knee, and you're like, oh, okay. And then he goes collapse in the corner, and then he lays down. You're like, whoa, what's going on? Look at that. Look at that. You see that? And it was after this, 3 years later, the New York State Athletic Commission was sued. They paid off his family. He won. They won. And they changed the rules. So years later, we get Ortiz versus Deontay at the Barclays. They stopped the action in between rounds so they could check out Deontay because he was badly buzzed. He was. And you got stupid-ass Paulie Malignaggi who lives, well, I don't know if you live in New York, but he's from New York, but you would figure if you're on a mic, you would at least know the goddamn rules. Ah, what are they doing? They can't do that. They can't do that. Dummy. They can and they did because of this. Because of this. This right here. They were sued and the rules changed. This is how they wanted Devin Haney, y'all. This is how they wanted Deontay Wilder, y'all. Because if Devin Haney was looking like this, you know what they'd be saying? Well, I mean, so what? I mean, he had to stop those left hooks. I mean, Ryan popped dirty. And you know what? If this was Devin, Ryan would have still been an active fighter. And y'all wouldn't have said a word. That's why I don't support you guys. And y'all know who I'm talking about. I don't support you clowns. And you self-hating, knuckle-dragging, hairy back, gnat-eating Negroes, death to you. Car fire. Straight car fire. Now, I know I done spread too much truth, so Miguel is not going to fully monetize this video. But you know what? it's important that I get the information out here because I say this all the time. Stop me when I'm lying. Look at this picture, y'all. Look at him. And I just showed you he left the ring. He walked out the ring. He fought a hard fight. Mike Perez beat him. He went to the hospital and fell out. And look at him now. Look at that. So when I say, hey, man, all I want is a clean sport, that's all I want. What's the young man that died in the ring that Blue Blood knew personally? Stormy, what was that kid's name? I forgot it. He was a young kid. He was like not even 21 or 22. This is a couple of years ago. Died in the ring, bro. Black kid, I forgot his name. But Blue knew him.
Patrick Day.
Patrick Day, that's him. Died. This sport is dangerous as it is. So when these fools get in here drugged up, overweight, playing games with this thing, to me, it's attempted murder. And I get offended.
Hey, Drew, look at this. Michael Ray says, damn, I went to the interview. Did they remove the steroids part of the interview?
Hey, bro. You can't find it either? I can't find it. Because you know when she said it? She said it around the time when she was talking about how she met Nigel Benn. I let that play.
Right.
So where the fuck is it?
He probably told.
You know what? I'm going to go to Andre Ward's because he has clips of it on his Instagram. I don't know if he says exactly that. But I know I heard it, and it wasn't that far up.
I heard it too, because when I told you about the interview, when I sent it to you, I had seen that part as well.
It was when she was talking about how Nigel Benn kept saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Right. And then she was like, you know, what are you so sorry about? And then someone else said, oh, you didn't know? Yeah, he was on steroids. Why? I let a majority of this thing rock. You mean they edited that shit? I just listened to this whole thing 2 days ago.
Exactly. And I listened to it 3 days ago.
It's not there? Bro. Enoch said, I watched in the interview earlier and they had it. Don't see how they could edit it after releasing it already without taking it down and putting it back up. Yo, these dudes at YouTube could do anything, bro. They could do anything. They probably told Ward to clip it out. I don't know, bro. Listen, I got live streams on. Yo, watch this, y'all. Who remembers when we had Malik Scott on my live stream? It was me, Stormy, Kurt Sugar, rest his soul, and I think Trick was on here. May have been Tay Jones, I forget. Well, never mind that. See if you can find it on my channel. It's not there no more. The shit gone. I didn't remove it. It's gone. It's gone. Now, I have it on my hard drive. I'm going to re-upload it. Not on YouTube, though. I'm going to re-upload it on Rumble. But I have it. I have it. It's nowhere on my channel. That shit gone, bro. It's Malik Scott. Yo, everyone knew about that interview. Ego quoted it. Yes, Boxing Ego. Find it on my channel. The shit's gone, bro. It's gone. Now, I have it, but it's gone. Where the fuck did it go? So these people could do anything. Now, I let that shit play. The steroid part, it's not there. I'm looking for it. I'm like, where the fuck did it go? That shit gone? Why is it gone? So maybe I'm overlooking it. I don't know. But I don't think so. You scumbags do this shit all the time.
Some fighters didn't lose their belts. They lost their lives. Broken heart. The biggest danger.
What's the other one here?
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are.
You remember this? I forget this young man's name. He got hit with rabbit punches. Look at him.
It will beat.
He's fucked up now.
Beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it.
Then people.
Look at that, man. And I forgot this young man's name. But he's messed up now.
They've been through the most horrific experiences in life, and they found a way to still be happy because they've made the decision that life is too short to suffer.
Let me tell you something you already know.
See that? Pritchard Cologne, thank you, y'all. Thank you. Thank you. So when I get on here and I get on these rants about a fair fucking sport, y'all could disregard it if you want to. But you don't love this sport. You love on a fighter because you're a homosexual. And you don't like his rival that can knock out the dude you jack your balls over all day, all night long. I watch the sport. What are you watching? You're watching for chrome hearts, braided hair, tattoos, and the nipples to you look like two Hershey Kisses. Because you guys are biting all the pillows. You are power bottoms. He pounds you. You envision him pounding you while you dry hump the mattress. You're disgusting. Get out my sport. Crazy ass. Well, I'm bringing this to a close, man. Let them know.
Yeah, getting ready for this Zuffa, man. Opataya will be fighting shortly.
Yeah.
But no, it's a great conversation. Things that needed to be talked about. It's interesting that the steroid part has disappeared, but nonetheless, we still covered what needed to be said. I'm glad you had enough of an audience to follow through on this. See some new faces out there as well. But yes, I'm proud of what we do. You know what I mean? 100%. I sleep well as a result of it because the fighters will always know that they had a real true supporter in us, That's why the guys that are undeserving, we point them out and we single them out because that's exactly what they are. They're undeserving.
Speaking of undeserving, real quick, Stormy. Y'all think I be bullshitting. I need you to listen to this.
You take an ass whipping like that?
Hey, and you pretty as shit. And you pretty as shit.
If you do it again, in what way?
Heard that? Listen.
Hey, and you pretty as shit. And you pretty as shit. Hey, and you pretty as shit. And you pretty as shit.
All I can tell you, sir, is that he's gay.
Gay, gay.
That's it. I had enough.
I ain't got a lot of y'all. That was a grown ass. As a matter of fact, that dude was standing next to Champ's side when he said that. And I asked Champ, I said, yo, what the fuck was that? He said, yo, Drew, that was a grown ass black dude. And you pretty and shit. And you pretty. And this is after Ryan was going through, we was in between the A sample and the B sample. And they were asking about a rematch. He's running around with that knuckle dragging nigga that used to be his bodyguard. Haven't seen him in a while. Maybe he came to his senses. But he got a grown ass black man to my, hey, you pretty as shit. You what? What? I'd have put the camera on him, but like, yo, bro, what did you just say? Why would you say that? What's going on with you? Just admit it. You a pillow biter. Oh, yeah, I'm gay. Okay, all right, fine. Okay, I just want to make sure. Because now it makes sense. Because no straight man says that. Muhammad Ali could say, hey, I'm pretty. You would never have caught me saying, hey, I agree. I'd be like, yo, you bugging, bro. All right, whatever, man. Hey, I agree. What? Car fire. Car fire. Ego said that about him too. Of course. Pillow biter. Power bottoms. Y'all know what pillow biter is? Listen, let me put it. Let me make it clear for y'all. We're grown. You mount your wife from behind and she lay flat. And when you go deep, what does she do? She scream into that pillow, right? She might even start gnawing at it. Because she's trying to keep cool because she don't want to wake up whatever, you don't wake up the kids or whatever. No man is supposed to be biting a pillow. Do you understand? No man is supposed to be biting a pillow. Do you understand? So when I call these cats pillow biters, I just explained it for you. Salute to everybody in the Venmo, the Zelle, the Cash App, the Super Chat. I expose these pillow biters daily. That was a grown-ass man called Ryan Pretty. See what I mean? No noise on Kurtz of tomorrow. We got to move the show to next week. It's all good. Zoop, for what channel is that on? Swami, so let everyone know.
Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus.
And remember you had a member in the chat say that at 11 o'clock they're gonna have it on YouTube.
Right.
But it's on Paramount Plus right now. It's one more fight in between, and then it'll be the main event.
Yes, sir. Let's go, Jao Patai. I'm rooting for him, especially after what man. Screw these sanctioning bodies, man. They can all collapse.
Yeah, what they did was really wrong, man. It's totally wrong.
Word up, man. So salute to y'all, man. Everybody, Venmo, Zelle, Cash App, Super Chat. It's about the sport. You know what I mean? So I'll see y'all in the AM, man. Bronx on deck.
Move! Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay.